3 NLP techniques that could change your life. Stay tuned. This is Damon from NLP Gym. 3 must-know NLP techniques. If you haven't already, please click subscribe to this YouTube channel so you can get these videos on a regular basis. I like 3s. 2 seems like it's not quite enough, and 4 gets a little complicated. Take things a step at a time, learn 3 things at a time, 2 to 3 things at a time. You can get extraordinary results out of these 3 simple NLP techniques. The first one is calibration. Calibration is a particular technique within the field or the skill of sensory acuity. Sensory acuity in NLP is basically your sensitivity to perceiving in other people's physiology and your own changes in breathing, changes in skin tone, changes in voice tone, just to name a few. What you can do is actually calibrate your state or calibrate other people's states when they're changing states. So if you notice their breathing shifts at certain times when they're in a certain state, or they're talking about something in particular, or their skin tone changes or something like that, you can recognize when they're going into different states, and you can start to realize which ones they're going into by what you're seeing physiologically or what you're hearing from their voice or even hearing their breathing. And you can become well aware of this in your own body so that when you're changing states or you're going into to a less resourceful state, you can recognize this and put yourself back into a resourceful state. Why is this even important? Well, very good salespeople, people who are very persuasive, and also very good coaches and therapists do this even if they're not aware of it. When you can recognize when someone's going into different states, first of all, this is a very powerful rapport builder, because you're putting a lot of attention on the person in a way that they're not used to, and that is not intrusive, and often they don't really know why, but they get the sense that they've got your full attention. So it builds a lot of rapport. Also, when you can tell when someone's going into different states, you can then become more persuasive in influencing those states. You can also spot deception, which is interesting because you'll start to notice this when people are telling you things that aren't true. Their physiology isn't matching up with their words. The second technique is anchoring. Anchoring can be extremely powerful to manage your own states and also to put other people into good states. Anchoring is basically when you match a sound or a touch with a particular state. When you repeat the sound or the touch, it puts the person back into the state. If you've ever find yourself going into the bathroom to brush your teeth and suddenly you have to go and use the toilet, that's often a natural anchor. Something about the bathroom, what you're seeing in the bathroom, reminds you of that and can actually make you feel like you have to go. There are a lot of natural anchors. There's a lot of things that we see or symbols that we see. For some people, like if they see the American flag, maybe they start feeling patriotic. That would be a visual anchor. Or if somebody's really sad at a funeral of someone who has passed away, a loved one, and people keep patting them on the back in the same place, maybe months later, somebody might come and pat that person on that same spot on their back, and suddenly they become sad and they don't know why. You can use these to anchor yourself. If you've ever seen Tony Robbins, he does that with his chest. He is actually firing one of his anchors that he's created for himself to put himself in the state that he wants to be in. So you can anchor yourself for optimal states. Also, you can anchor other people either overtly or covertly. So if I'm coaching someone and they want to be in a certain state, say for a performance or giving a presentation, I can find the state that they want, anchor that state by a touch or a sound or both, and then they can fire that themselves, or I can fire it for them by saying the word or whatever the sound is and touching them wherever that anchor has been set, and they'll go back into that state. Really crafty salespeople or people who can persuade and influence very well might see a person going into a particular state. Maybe that's a state of being happy or more likely to be agreeable, and then maybe they'll raise their eyebrows when that person goes into that state, or they'll lift one side of their mouth like that. And it doesn't always work, but if the person happens to be looking at the influencer or the person setting the anchor at that moment when they're going into that state, and they raise their eyebrows like that, then later in the conversation, that person can raise their eyebrows again and test to see if that fires that anchor, if it puts the person back into that state. This can be very, very crafty and very good for persuasion and influence if you can develop that ability. Third is mapping across. Mapping across is typically done with submodalities. What submodalities are, they are the finer details or the subqualities of our modalities, of our internal experience. So for example, when I think of somebody who I like, I see an image of them. That's the visual. The visual is the modality. The submodalities are the qualities of that visual picture. So if I see rich colors or bright colors, the brightness or the richness of the colors, that's a submodality. The position of where in my personal space I see that is also a submodality. Whether or not it's in color, sometimes people see in black and white, that's also a submodality. The size of the image is also a submodality. And auditory, that could be the tone, the pitch, the volume, or the direction in which the sound or the voice is coming from in my internal experience. Those would be submodalities for the auditory. For kinesthetic, that could be temperature, that could be texture, that could be weight, lightness or heaviness. So those are submodalities of the different modalities. What you do in mapping across is you can identify an experience where you don't have a resource that you'd like to have, and then you can identify a different experience where you have that resource. When you think of the two experiences and the submodalities of each, and you can identify the submodalities of each, you can take the submodalities from the resourceful experience and apply them to the experience where you're lacking that resource, and it's an extraordinary thing. Oftentimes, in most cases, if mapping across is appropriate for this particular experience, you will suddenly feel and experience that resource in that experience, and then you can future pace that, so when you're back in that experience, you're able to bring that resource into it. There are many, many more NLP techniques. These are just 3, and I've chosen these 3 because they're very powerful and they're very simple. I highly recommend learning these 3 and mastering them. Try these out. I have other videos on my YouTube channel which demonstrate some of these techniques. If you really want to learn these 3 techniques as well as many more and master them, sign up for NLP Gym's Ultimate NLP Practitioner Training coming up in January 2017. If you haven't already, please check out our website, nlp-gym.com. There you can sign up for the Ultimate NLP Practitioner Training. Follow us on Facebook for real-time updates on upcoming workshops and also free practice sessions that I hold in Santa Cruz. If you like this video, please click like right down here and leave me a comment or even a question. I will follow up with you. Stay tuned to the end of this video so you can get your hands on a free NLP Sensory Acuity online training. This has to do with calibration, one of the techniques that I'm talking about. I give a free online 30-day course that you can get access to if you go to our website, nlp-gym.com. Take care.